I work at Amazon as a delivery guy, and this happened to me in my early days. I was heading for my last delivery of the night. The thunderstorm and lightning made driving difficult. I checked the address and found out she was on the outskirts. I had never been to this part of town before. I knew that without GPS I would be completely lost. I was about to turn left when lightning struck near me and heavy rain began to fall. Shit. It was really hard driving in a thunderstorm, so I slowed down and waited for it to stop. After 15 minutes of waiting in the car, the rain has finally subsided. Being late, I knew I wouldn't have a tip for this order. I arrived at my destination after another 20 minutes of driving. There was a 2-story wooden house in the middle of nowhere. I took the package and headed for the porch. I rang the doorbell. The house was completely dark, which worried me a little because it would be a real shame if the owners weren't there. I waited for a while, seeing no answer. I got a little annoyed and rang again, but still no one opened the door. I was about to call my boss and go home when suddenly I heard footsteps approaching the door. Within seconds, a man opened the door. He was a type of medium height, thin, with very large eyes. He stood there without speaking, without saying anything, just staring at me. "Sorry for the delay, sir. Here is your package." He took the package from my hand and smiled strangely. "Okay, I'll leave you." So I turned back to my car when the man stopped me. Would you like to come in for a birthday party?" It was really weird, so I refused. "No thanks, I have a long drive back and it's already late." None of my daughter's friends came for her 10th birthday. "It would have been nice if you joined us for a surprise." I felt sorry for his daughter. In addition, the guilt of having delivered late stifled my rational sense. I thought, what harm would it be to stay a while after all? This is my last delivery of the evening between, so I won't keep you long. Upon entering, I realized there was no electricity. Candles on the shelves created an eerie atmosphere. I followed the man in silence. The house was so quiet that I could hear our footsteps on the wooden floor. After a few seconds of walking, we stopped in front of a door. The man pushed open the door and it creaked open. We entered a large room. Lightning struck outside through the window on the opposite wall, and a strange feeling seized my heart. There was a large dining table in the middle of the room. On this table, dishes were covered with bells. Candles were lit here too, but no birthday decorations were visible. It wasn't a birthday party. There wasn't even a cake. I was looking around when the man appeared behind me screaming, "Happy birthday." My God, what is that? I like to joke, "Why don't you sit down? I'm going to get my daughter. We're going to eat well tonight." The man left. I sat in the chair, but something told me I shouldn't be there. But I couldn't just leave, so I waited for him to come back. I decided to stay until the girl cut her cake. 5 minutes passed, but the man was nowhere to be found. I was going to get up to look for him when I heard a muffled groan. I hadn't noticed that there was a door on the other side of the room. The noise came from behind that door. I approached slowly and tried to listen. Someone was moaning in pain, his voice very weak, as if he were losing consciousness. I turned the handle but found it locked. I crouched down to look inside. As I peered through the keyhole, my heart began to pound. A man was tied to a chair and he had no eyes. His sockets were empty and blood was pouring. Worse still, his legs were cut off at the knees. My God, I fell into a murderer's trap. I got up and turned to leave. Why this haste, liberator? The scary man hit me on the head with a shovel, and I passed out. When I regained consciousness, I heard a happy birthday tune in the background. But there was also another sound, that of flesh being cut. I slowly opened my eyes and found myself strapped to a chair near the same table. The man with no eyes was sitting right next to me, now dead. The sinister man held a bloody heart in his hand and smiled at me. "Why are you doing this?" "Because I have particular culinary tastes." The monster placed the bloody heart on a plate on the table. He then began to approach each dish to lift the lids. "Want to know what's on the menu tonight?" He removed the first lid and I saw a pair of eyes covered in dressing. He then went to the next dish and removed the lid. There was a pair of human feet roasted and garnished on this plate. Now, one of my signature dishes, the man lifted the third lid, revealing 2 limbs braised in a sauce. I realized it was all a lie. This man had no daughter. He's a psychopathic cannibal, and that's how he stalks his victims. "Please let me go. What have I done to you?" I screamed. "I can't let you go. You're my main course." Tonight, the man picked up a saw from the floor and started walking toward me. I screamed, begged, but he just laughed. "I just have different tastes. Why is this so hard to understand?" I screamed one last time as he raised his saw above my head. That's when I hear my big noise. The psycho collapsed when the cop shot him in the head. I don't remember how they got me out of the house. I probably passed out. Again, I learned that the man without eyes was a detective investigating mysterious disappearances in the area. He solved the riddle by finding this psycho killer and alerting the cops. The cops traced his phone and found this cannibal's house. A dead man saved my life that day. But I still shudder when I think of psychopaths telling me, "I just have different food tastes." I've never been so scared in my life. For the last few days, I can't sleep, eat, or do anything in peace. I am a shopaholic and I love buying everything online. One of my favorite places to shop online is Amazon. Half of my monthly salary goes to them, and I believe all Amazon delivery people know my address by heart. But now I'm afraid to buy online because someone is dropping mysterious Amazon packages at my door. They arrive at varying hours, and no one knocks on my door. Yet every 2 or 3 days I get one. It all started on a sunny morning. I had just got up and went downstairs to make breakfast when I saw my cat scratching the front door. I've never seen him behave like this. Albert is a lazy cat who barely moves from his place. "What is it, Albert?" He kept rubbing his paw on the doormat. I thought he wanted out, so I opened the door and there was a package labeled by Amazon sitting on my porch. I thought it might be the wall clock delivered early. I found it really unprofessional on the part of the delivery man. He should have at least knocked to warn me. I tucked it in and put it on the dining table for a wall clock. The package seemed surprisingly light. Something made a noise when I lifted it up. I left it at that and went to fry some bacon and eggs. After breakfast, I decided to open it. I cut the first layer of Scotch tape and the whole packaging came undone. It looked as if someone had opened it before and then closed it again. I opened the cardboard box to see what was inside. My eyes widened when I saw a ring of cable torn from both ends. What is this madness? It was the stupidest joke in the world. Why put an old cable in a used Amazon box? And why the hell did you leave it at my door? In a furious mood, I threw it in the trash under the kitchen sink and went to work all day. I couldn't concentrate on my work. I kept thinking about the package. On the way home, I took a shower to change my mind and forget the incident of the morning. I went downstairs and sat on the couch to watch the news. When I turned on the TV, an info flash appeared on the screen. Last night in Block 23C, a woman was found murdered in her home. Her porch window was open through which the intruder would have entered the house. She was strangled with her cable TV, but the murder weapon is nowhere to be found. The cops question the entire neighborhood about this mysterious killer. My gaze turned to the kitchen. I felt my heart speed up suddenly. I got up slowly and walked to the kitchen sink. The package is still there in the trash. I took it out again and opened it up. The thin white wire definitely belongs in a cable TV. Is this really possible? Where do I just make movies? It could all be a coincidence mixed in with a silly joke. When I heard Albert growl against the cable in my hand, I put it back in, but without throwing away the packaging this time. I don't know what I was expecting. I still regret not going to the police at that time. In the back of my mind, I was afraid the police would suspect me if the cable turned out to be the murder weapon. The victim's house is not far from my house. I had trouble sleeping that night. All I could see was hands strangling me with this white cable. My eyes popped out of their sockets, my tongue hanging out as I struggled to free myself from the killer's grasp. Around 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up with a dry throat. I took a glass of water on my nightstand when I heard footsteps in my garden. I jumped out of bed and went to the window to look out. As I reached the top, I saw a figure dressed in black disappear into the nearby bushes. Was he back? I ran down the stairs and with a shaking hand I opened the front door, and there he was again. Another similar Amazon package was sitting on my porch. I picked it up, trembling with fear. Who knows what I'll find this time? Albert was grumbling at me, or rather at the package I was about to open. I unfolded the box and slid my hand in to grab something glowing inside. As soon as my hand touched the object in the box, I felt a hot liquid running between my fingers. It wasn't water, but rather something sticky. I turned on the lamp next to it and found myself with a bloody knife in my hand. The blood was still warm, which meant another murder had taken place moments earlier. Oh my God, a killer drops his murder weapon at my house, and now those 2 guns have my fingerprints on them. I ran to wash my hands and threw up in the kitchen sink in fear and disgust. What should I do now? Should I call the cops? And if they don't believe me, and if they think I'm responsible for these murders, there's only one way out. I have to destroy these murder weapons. I went straight to the basement and burned the cable and the 2 packaging cartons right away. I cleaned the knife with dish soap and bleach. After the rest of the night, I slept on the couch in the living room. The next morning, I called in sick and took time off work. The TV was on and I was waiting for this one news. Morning passed and after 12 the cook fell, but no news of a second murder. I was walking the 100 steps around the house when I heard police cars outside. My heart almost jumped out of my chest. Why are they here? I peeked behind the blinds and saw police and paramedics at my neighbor's house. What does that mean? But before I could think about it, my doorbell rang. I went into total panic mode. The cops are here to question me now. And if he discovers these murder weapons, I have to speak carefully. I don't want to go to jail for crimes I didn't commit. I wiped the sweat from my forehead and tried to act normal. I opened the front door and saw a policeman standing in front of me. Hello, officer. Hello, ma'am. I'm Officer Brad. If you have a minute, I'd like to ask you a few questions about the murder next door. What? A murder occurred next door, but how exactly? Oh my, calm down, lady. No need to panic. May I come in? Thank you. I stepped aside and Officer Brad entered my house. We sat in the living room, and he informed me that Mrs. Atwood, my neighbor, was stabbed to death last night. He's seeking the killer. He asked me if I hadn't seen or heard anything suspicious last night, and I said not at all. These questions were obvious, as if Mrs. Atwood had an enemy or a quarrel with someone who might kill her in revenge. And my answers were no. I kept pretending to be a stupid person who didn't know any of this. After a tense interrogation, when Officer Brad realized I had no useful information, he stood up and warned me to stay vigilant because the killer might strike again. I walked him back to the door and saw him walk to the next house. As soon as I closed the door, I collapsed on the floor, in tears. Why me? Why would the killer do this to me? I haven't been able to eat anything all day. I drank too much that night and passed out on the couch. I don't know how long I've been gone, but my senses have sharpened. At the sound of the front door opening, I jumped off the couch and ran to hide under the stairs. The door closed and someone came into my house. I had kept the knife the murderer had left under the stairs. Footsteps approached and a voice said, "I know you're hiding, Kelly." Kelly, my name is Caroline, and there's only one person in the world who called me Kelly. My God, is that Mark? Mark was the creepiest boyfriend I ever had. A chill ran through me when I thought back to the restraining order filed against him 2 years ago and his threat, "Are you going to pay Kelly?" So it was him from the beginning, seeking revenge. I reached into my left pocket to call the cops, but I'd left my phone on the couch. Suddenly, a hand grabbed my hair and pulled me suddenly, brutally. "How did you like my presence, Kelly?" Mark threw me to the ground, laughing like a demon. "What do you want from me?" I cried out, sobbing in terror. Mark stared at me with bloodshot eyes and said, "Nothing. I just want you." And now we have no choice but to run. You understand? Go pack your things. We're leaving right away, darling. What? Why would I run away with you? Oh, my sweet innocent Kelly, you don't understand. I killed those people and sent you the murder weapons for a reason, you see. You didn't go to the police, which proves you tried to hide them. And now you're as guilty as I. Falsify evidence of murder and indeed a crime. You shouldn't have taken those Amazon packages, my poor lamb. My head started pounding with pain when I finally understood his evil plan. But this time I'm not going to let it go without a fight, you sick man. I jumped on him and stabbed him with the same knife he used to kill my neighbor. Blood gushed like a fountain and his body trembled like a crushed animal. I kept stabbing him until his entrails came out of his belly. I now drive to the big lake on the outskirts of the city. His body is stretched out in the back, wrapped in several layers of plastic. I'll throw him in the lake with the knife, then the mystery killer will never be found by the cops. Everyone will believe he ran off after 2 murders, and I'll be done with this story once and for all. I'm afraid to buy online because of what happened last time because of COVID. I isolated myself like everyone else at home. My company imposed teleworking on all employees that in 2020 arrived. Even after confinement ended, I avoided going out. So my only option was to order my essentials online. Sometimes orders take time, sometimes they arrive earlier than expected. That's exactly what happened to me one Friday night. I was watching a movie with snacks. When the bell rang, I wasn't expecting anybody. I got up and looked through the peephole. A guy dressed as a delivery man was standing there with a big box in his hands. I asked, "Who is this?" He replied that he was coming to deliver my Amazon package. I had to open the door. We met and the man told me he was early with my order. I checked the receipt and found it was telling the truth. The package belongs to me. I took the cardboard box from her hand and told her to wait outside. I was with my back to him, pulling the money out of my wallet when I had a strange feeling. Something was wrong, but I didn't know what. I turned around immediately and the delivery man was still there as before. His eyes had a piercing look that made me uncomfortable. Anyway, I shrugged and went to give him the money. This is where the situation became even more frightening. Taking the money, he gave me an unsettling smile and said, "You smell like my ex," after he dug it up. I was frozen in fear, unable to decide what to do. My door is wide open and he could come after me, but he didn't. After saying this completely insane thing, the delivery man started walking to his car parked in the driveway. He didn't turn around, he didn't stop, he just kept going. I managed to pull myself together and lock the door as soon as he left. What was wrong with this man? I sat in silence for almost an hour trying to figure out what had just happened. When I finally concluded that this man was a nut job and nothing else, I decided to report it to Amazon. I did what I had to do. They sent me an apology email and promised to take action against this guy. In the meantime, I checked all the windows and doors in my house because I felt it wasn't over yet. Damn, I was right. I was preparing dinner in the kitchen when I saw a shadow outside. Someone was walking in my garden and I heard grunts. I went to the back door, turned on the spotlights, and the creepy guy was back. He paced back and forth in my garden with bloodshot eyes and an angry face at every step. He was spitting in my garden in the most disgusting way possible. "Get out of here before I call the cops, you freak." The man stopped and turned his head toward me. I've never been so scared in my whole life. He looked ready to cut my throat at any moment. She picked up a rock from the floor and threw it at one of the lights, shattering the glass with the first blow. "You're sick. Why are you doing this?" I shouted again, but he didn't even deign to answer. One by one he broke the 4 lights in my garden without hesitation. A second once finished, he headed to my back door. I backed away, terrified, thinking he was going to force his way in. There was a metal vase on the next table. I grabbed him to defend myself, but surprisingly he didn't try to get in. He just stood in front of my window staring at me, breathing heavily. I called 911 and he didn't even try to stop me. When I finished the call, he leaned out the window, leaning his face and hand against the glass, and said, "If I wanted to, I could have done a lot of things to you back then, but I didn't." "Then why did you turn me in?" "'Cause you're crazy, man. Look how you're acting. You call it being sane. You scare me." "Well, now you've woken up the voices in my head. They're not always under my control, but I did my best at the time. Yet you denounced me for no reason. For no reason, really. Do you hear yourself? You said I smelled like your ex after she was dug up. What does that mean? Damn it, it wasn't me, it was Marvin." He didn't just say that, he also told me to do things to you, but did I listen to him? No. Then why did you turn me in? Why? Oh my God, this man is sick and he needs medical help. I know it's gonna take the cops a while to get here. Until then, I gotta keep him under control so he doesn't try anything. Even more terrifying, I lowered my voice and said, "Listen, I'm sorry. I was scared. I will call customer service and withdraw my complaint." "You don't take that kind of thing away. Tell me, if I open you up, could I take this back? Tell me, you bitch. Is Marvin telling you to do this?" The expression on his face immediately changed. He began to sob like a child, hiding his face in his palms. After a minute like that, he looked at me and said, "I want his voices to stop. I want Marvin gone. He's ruining my life." I finally figured out what's wrong with him. This man suffers from multiple personality disorder. I walked over to the window and said, "Why don't you sit down and calm down? I'm sure the police can help you." To help the poor guy, I forgot I was too close to the window. His face suddenly changed and he hit the window with his head screaming, "You can't help me, you can't help me. I'm gonna open you up and play with your insides. I will make you suffer until your last breath." I screamed at the top of my lungs and ran upstairs. I heard the window shatter behind me as I rushed to my room. The man jumped inside and chased me like a raging bull. I rushed into my room to slam the door when his hand got stuck in the opening, but I was past the point of compassion. I kept crushing his hand with the door while he screamed in pain. Bones cracked and his hand bled terribly from the repeated knocks on the door. The more he screamed, the more I forced the door shut. Mad with pain, he withdrew his hand and I locked the door in a flash. He knocked on my door shouting obscenities. I fell to the ground praying that the police would arrive soon. After a minute, the beating stopped and everything became silent. I heard police sirens outside. That night, 2 officers searched the area without finding anything. The man was gone. He's still looking for it, and I moved in with my best friend. I'm not going home until this man is arrested. Even if he's sick, I can't risk my life anymore. I hope the police catch him fast before he kills someone else, because if he really killed his girlfriend, he'll strike again.